folks. Yes, it's Friday again, thank Christ. Right, let me just get the show on the road. There's nothing coming. Right, we're good to go. Good to go. Yeah, how you doing? Yeah, weather-wise, I mean, we had what did we have? We had about we had about a couple of weeks really warm weather, like seriously warm, too warm actually. I'm going to stop looking at the camera because it's actually bad doing that. Yeah, seriously warm. Last weekend was just stifling, absolutely stifling, and we're not used to this kind of weather. You know, we don't. What was I going to say? So I just got a wee bit distracted there. Anyway, yeah, we're not built for heat. I mean, especially in Scotland. I mean, down in England, like down in London and sort of Devon, Cornwall, all these kind of things. Excuse me. What the hell? Fuck! None wants to come out. Shit. Yeah, we're not. You guys get the weather a lot warmer, and so you're probably used to it. But in Scotland, we're not. I saw a hilarious. Well, I thought it was funny anyway. Video on whatever it was, YouTube, and there's this guy. In fact, it's not YouTube. It's Instagram. I've actually started using Instagram, and I'm actually thinking it's better than Facebook now. I use Facebook for a couple of reasons. Keeping in touch with people, you know, it's definitely the best way to keep in touch with people. You know, if I didn't have Facebook, I wouldn't be in touch with half the people I'm in touch with. But the downside to Facebook is it's full of adverts. You just get so much crap, all this AI bollocks. You get a lot of offensive kind of stuff. Animals getting cooked alive and all this kind of shit, you know, which I don't want to see. So Instagram, I almost think Instagram has been like what Facebook was 20 years ago or whenever it started. I don't know when Facebook started. You know, before all the adverts came in and just the crap. So the stuff you get on Instagram now is a bit better. What the hell am I talking about? I can't even for the life of me remember where I was going. I was talking about the weather. Oh god, I hate getting old. I hate getting old and I forget what I'm talking about. No idea. Absolutely no idea what I was talking about. But yeah, the weather's been really warm. It's been a bit more overcast the last couple of days. And I'm going to say one thing about Facebook, which it's a good thing, but sadly it's not. It wasn't not for a good reason. I was made aware that one of my friends had passed away through a comment on Facebook. John Latimer. Now John, fellow Scotsman, comes from Glasgow. John would be quite a bit younger than me. I don't know what age he was. I reckon John was in his maybe early 40s. I'm not 100% sure. John was one of the original YouTube guys. When I got involved in YouTube, started making content, John was doing his own stuff along with all the other kind of people. And I'd met John a couple of times. Is it once or twice? I can't remember exactly, but he had a good YouTube channel. He used to do a thing called Desert Island Games, and John left. He kind of left the scene. Oh, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago, probably more than that actually. He just kind of stepped back, and I hadn't heard from John for, you know, a good number of years. And then last year, no, it wasn't last year actually. It was. I can't actually believe that. It's when I started the Nice and Nasty back in, it was 2023. I'd come up with the idea, and then I realised that it was actually based on John's Desert Island Games. So rather than just plagiarise his idea, I got in touch with him, I had him through Facebook, and I says, look John, I said, I'm planning to do a sort of a podcast based around what your Desert Island Games were. I says the only slight difference is I'm going to have you pick your 3 worst games. I says if you don't want me to do this, absolutely no problem. And he got back to me and says, listen, that's great, you crack on. He said, I'm never likely to do Desert Island Games again. He says, you crack on with it. So I had him as my first guest, and yeah, absolutely cracking bloke. And then it was last week, one of my friends, again a fellow YouTuber, Stephen Horton, he made a post on Facebook saying that he'd gone to John's Facebook page and discovered that he'd actually passed away. So I don't know what the circumstances are. I'm not going to discuss it. I'm not going to talk about it, and because at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. My thoughts and wishes go out to his wife and his family. I know I think he got married last year or the year before. He hadn't been married a long time. I did listen to about 10 minutes of the podcast, and he did mention that he had a few health issues. So I don't know what the cause of death was, but it just made me realise, and I'm fully aware of this anyway, that life is fleeting. We're put on this earth. If you're lucky, you'll get 70, 80 years. You might not be that lucky, and that's why it's kind of funny when people make a fool of me being old. I'm just thinking, well, I've had, so far I've had 57 years. Hopefully I'll still get a few more. But yeah, I was gutted, absolutely gutted when I heard that John had passed away. And I know people say this about everybody, but John really was one of the good guys. He was a lovely guy, just a big heart, typical Glaswegian, big heart, wouldn't upset anybody, just lovely guy. So I got in touch with John's wife. I didn't know, to be fair. I messaged her on Facebook, and I just passed on my condolences. Hang on a second, it's getting really, really warm in the car. Put the air conditioning on, and I just passed on my condolences, and I said, look, could you let me know when the funeral's going to be? So she got back to me with the details. It's next week. I will try and remember to put a link down below for anybody that wants to go along. If you are close by and you want to attend, this was John T. The dress code, John had apparently said that he wanted the dress code at his funeral to be a heavy metal t-shirt and jeans. So that suits me perfectly. So that was John. That was the market. John as a guy, even in death, he had a sense of humour. So yeah, his funeral's next week. I think it's the 22nd. I can't remember what time it is. 2 o'clock, something that goes me. But there is a live stream, and the irony that John's going to be in another live stream. I did actually put a link on my Facebook to the live stream, and also I put a link on the Main Meister Facebook page. So if you're on either of these, if you're a friend of mine's on Facebook or you're on the Main Meister Facebook page, go and see. If you want to not take part, if you want to pay your respects to John and follow the service, then you can do that. So yeah, rest in peace, John. Like I says, mate, you're a good lad, and you're going to be absolutely sadly missed. Absolutely no question. Now I've printed off. Yeah, next one, back on kind of like gaming topic. I saw yesterday that Outrun has now been released for the Commodore Amiga. Now, I had a look. You can what do you call it? Pay for it. It's Ichiku or something it's called. You can pay for it. I think £4.50, or if you want, you can download it for free and make your own donation. You can get it for free. I've not got it yet. I'll probably will get it. Will I pay for it? Don't know, because it's not really a game that I'm interested in playing, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I've watched a video, and it looks indistinguishable from the arcade. The very brief sort of view that I saw of the game playing, it maybe looked a tiny bit slower. I don't know, again, until I actually play the game properly on either an Amiga, well, I've not got an Amiga, on an emulator or the Mist or whatever. I can't really comment, but from what I can gather, it looks you couldn't tell them apart. Maybe if you had them side by side you might, but it looks, what the hell happened there? It looks really good. But it got me thinking about something. And I know the answer, but I'm going to ask a question anyway. What is the point of... I don't know what happened there. The camera just stopped for some weird reason. No idea. Hopefully this has been recording. Yeah, I hope it hasn't. I just heard it going off there. Don't know what was going on. Hopefully I'll be able to get them uploaded. Alright. Anyway, yeah. What is the purpose? I think, like I said, I know the answer. But is there any point to bringing out a game on an old system, like a conversion of something that is absolutely arcade perfect? Now, I get it's like a technical achievement. I get that. People, it's like boasting rights. You can say, look at this, I've got arcade perfect Amiga, arcade perfect Outrun on my Amiga, which is incredible because, you know, the Outrun that came out back in the day was shit. Now, if an arcade perfect Amiga came out in 1989 or whenever, when it was still a commercial thing, I would get that, because who wouldn't want to play an arcade perfect Outrun on their Amiga or any other computer, come to think of it. But the fact that we now live in times where you can play the arcade, you don't need to play the Amiga one, you don't need to play the Commodore 64 one, you can play the arcade version. What is the purpose of playing an arcade perfect game on a computer when you can play the arcade? I know the answer. I know it's because you can. It's demonstrating how good the hardware was. It goes to show just what could have been done. It just when I saw it and I thought, that's like arcade perfect, and I thought to myself, would I actually play it? You know what? I don't know. What is the purpose of getting arcade perfect? You know, the irony being, if the version that came out on the Amiga maybe had like lesser graphics, or maybe it ran a bit slower or whatever, or it maybe had the extra levels, I could kind of get it, because it's like, yeah, look at this, oh, this is the version on the Amiga. It's like a bit like, I don't know, Buggy Boy in the Commodore 64. It's fuck all like the arcade, but it's a great game, and you're like, oh, look what I've done here, they've utilised the hardware. So if we had got a not perfect version on the Amiga, does it make sense what I'm saying? You would almost be like, wow, this looks really good, but because we've got an arcade perfect version, it kind of defeats the purpose. And I know I'm just being an old cantankerous old bastard, just kind of debating about it for the sake of debating, but it's just a thing that kind of cropped into my head. Is there any point to arcade perfect versions on a computer? Like I said, I know the answer. It's because there's something really, really cool about I'm playing this, and it's not the arcade, it's a version on the Amiga. Yes, those eagle-eyed people might have noticed that the camera angle's changed a wee bit, and I don't know what's going on. I started recording the waffle last night when I was driving through to Falkirk, and I glanced over and it had just stopped recording. I think it's down to the lack. It's coming up with an error SD card saying it can't see the SD card, so I think it ran out of space. So I think that was what the problem was. The reason I keep glancing at the cameras, I just want to make sure it's still recording. So yeah, I started this yesterday. I'm going to try and remember where I got to before it kind of cut off. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, excuse me, a couple of weeks ago, I did a community. Yeah, you'll notice it's stuttering. It doesn't matter as long as the kind of the audio is fine. A couple of weeks ago, I was asked a question actually, and it was a really good question by somebody. Apologies, I can't remember who it was. They asked me if I had to pick either Nintendo or Sega, what one of these companies would I pick to not have ever have existed? So I gave it a bit of thought, and I thought, why don't I include Microsoft and Sony? You know, so you've got the big kind of console hitters. So I did that, and then I thought, well, let's kind of open it up to the community, my friends, folk that watch it. I'd like to know what they kind of think. So I gave my answer last week, and what I did was I kind of looked at the pros and cons of all four companies, and I ended up picking Microsoft as the company to not have existed. And the reason being was I said that they were they didn't really create anything new. They came along after like Sony and Sega and Nintendo had sort of already set the bar. I mean, the thing is, Microsoft make the Xbox 360, which is my probably go-to console if I had to pick a console. It's just got so many good games. Yeah, so I picked Sony. I picked Microsoft as a company I would get rid of. And one of my friends, Colin, said, well, if you pick Microsoft, he said he would have maybe picked Microsoft, but then he realised that Windows and DOS and all these operating systems wouldn't have existed, and we wouldn't have, like it or lump it, you know, not everybody's a fan of Windows, like it or lump it, we wouldn't have the industry we've got now. Oh, this is really dark. Anyway, not to worry. Yeah, so I kind of thought about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a caveat. I'm still going to get rid of Microsoft, but I'm talking about not the company. I don't want the company to disappear. But I think we could have. I think the gaming kind of community, video games community, could still exist quite happily without Microsoft's input into like gaming consoles. So yeah, we'll still keep Microsoft for their Windows and all that kind of stuff, but we'll get rid of the if I had to pick what one of the four I'd get rid of, I'd still go over Microsoft, I say, but they can keep Windows. That's like this. So hopefully that's answered that. Now I've got a couple of questions. Here. Now this has been asked a long time ago, and for whatever reason I keep not getting round to answering it. So here we go. Why are you doing? You know what? I hate people at speed, but then equally I hate people that sit really, really slow. I mean, I'm on a motorway and there's a car doing about 55 miles an hour. Come on. Which all it does is it forces people to overtake. See reading notes, so I'm going to put it here. So I'm kind of still I'm still looking ahead. Right, this is Doug Scullery. Thank you, Doug, and apologies about the time it's taking to get back to you with this one. Doug's asking, have you ever noticed the parallels between the development of the game scene in the early 80s and how the same thing has happened in the YouTube retro scene over the last few years? The game scene circa 1982, 1983 was full of creativity, as it was mostly keen amateurs. Tons of experimentation, the Wild West, so to speak. But once the money men saw profits to be made, then all that Wild West excitement was gone, and the likes of Ocean took over with their movie tie-ins. Come 1984, most of the original guys were gone. Compare this to the YouTube retro scene. Starts out with genuine enthusiasts, Steve Benway, Mainmeister, and quickly transforms into a cash money grab by money-minded individuals, Top Hat Gamer, Octavius Kitten, etc, etc. Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Doug. I mean, I suppose it's like anything, any kind of hobby, whatever it's going to be. I suppose like skateboarding or anything, any hobby at all, it's got to start somewhere, and invariably it's going to be small. You know, I mean, you think about the computer games industry. Back in the late sort of mid 70s, the only people that knew about the existence of computers was like boffins, people who worked in like laboratories or, you know, universities, whatever. And then when Clive Sinclair came along with his little Z80 kit, then all these little enthusiasts, they bought into it and started building their own computers and making games. And so yeah, it's an exciting time. There's lots of originality, lots of new ideas, you know, very little tried and tested, because I mean, sort of formats, because at the end of the day, it's a brand new cottage industry, so people are making up as they go along. And yeah, I get what you're saying about like YouTube. It's the same. YouTube was, you know, it only came along in, was it 2005, 2008, something like that. And then obviously people, I mean, I never watch it. I can't even remember the name, but there was some was it the Angry Video Games Nerd? Never seen any of his videos, not interested. But yeah, he realised that, oh, I can make videos about video games. Then you've got the likes of Steve Benway, and then obviously later on myself and Lone Boys Post and all my other friends that got into it very early days. And you know, sadly, when people realise there is money to be made, then people start getting into stuff. It's the way of the world, you know. It's like, I suppose you could almost say, like when they bring out a new console, it's not all the hardcore fans that buy them, it's all these people that buy them purely to make money. They're not remotely interested in playing games or anything. It's just all about the money. And yeah, YouTube has become that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still think YouTube's a great thing, because it's completely free. It gives me the opportunity to do this. It gives me the opportunity to connect with friends and do live streams and all that, you know. So we're not knocking YouTube. It's a great thing, but it now allows people to effectively make it their full-time job, and with that, you know, it's a bit like Electronic Arts. I don't think they'll ever take any more chances with modern games. It's always going to be, they get a tried and tested formula. They don't want to deviate from any, you know, they'll stick with the stuff that works. So you're going to continually get your, I know it's not called that anymore, but fucking FIFA football, you're going to continually get that. You're going to get your Call of Duties because it's safe. And then what then happens is you get, and I'm not going to go naming any names, but you get retro gaming channels that come along and they think, how can we make money? How can we turn this into a business? And the whole creativity just goes out the window. I suppose you could kind of compare it like with the music industry. You know, in the early days you had real bands who probably played in pubs until they got famous. You know, any big band, Oasis, the Eagles, probably like Deep Purple, any big group like that, they started out playing in rundown pubs and clubs and what have you until they got famous. And yeah, but then as things, I completely forgot my train of thought there. What was I talking about? Yeah, anyway, you get to a point where it just they become so famous that they stick to what makes money, and it becomes the thing I was going to say about music. You've got your bands that start playing in their garage, playing with their mates at school. They build up. If they're lucky, they go into fill arenas and play proper gigs. Then you had your Stock Aitken Waterman boy band type producers come along, and it's all artificial, it's all just put out there. There's no real spirit, there's no real love or affection for the hobby, it's just to make money. And it's the same video games. You get guys like Jeff Minter, who fortunately still does make games that he wants to make, but these guys are few and far between. I don't think there's any other Jeff Minters out there. But all the creativity is sucked out of it, and they make safe games. You know, they make Call of Duties because they know they're going to sell. They make all this stuff that they know is going to sell, and it's the same with video game channels. These channels that make money. Personally, I've really got. There's only a couple that I will watch. The rest of them, I just find them as boring as cold tea. Honestly, just dull, really, really dull. So yeah, absolutely, Doug. And like I said, I think it's just to do with it's the way of the world. There's money to be made. So anyway, Doug. Hopefully, it's taking a while to answer that. Right, the next one. Let me just put this up here actually, so I can not crash the car. Don't want to do that. Don't want to let anyone see that I'm reading a piece of paper. You all right, Hen? Yeah, cool. I am driving safely. As I said, I'm going to put this here so you can see it. Right, Milthy Swinbuckle. Let's put it there actually. Question for Mainmeister. Let's go with the last 3 times you were truly excited for a game coming out. The game could have turned out to have been great, good, okay, or total crap. Question, were you looking forward to it? And did you have big expectations for the games in question? And how did you feel once the curtain on the gameplay was raised? Now, I think I might have answered that already, but I'm going to answer it again. The one game, there's been a few games over the years. The one game, and it's an 8-bit game, and again, I've mentioned this before. The one game that I was really excited about, the sequel coming out, would have been the sequel to Exploding Fist, because the first Exploding Fist, to my mind, is an absolute stonker of a game, brilliant game. Really looking forward to it. You know, I saw the screenshots and Zap. It was going to be a all-encompassing kind of adventure where you're fighting guys and you're meeting all different kinds of beasts, and it was going to be glorious. And then when it came out, the scrolling was completely broken. It was like horrible push scrolling, which is just unacceptable on a Commodore 64 when you consider what came out before that. The most important dull feature was it was just boring. It was boring. You spent half your time just walking, you know, just walking, never actually really getting to see anything. And then they'd completely stripped, well, it felt like it, they'd completely stripped the sort of the fighting mechanics. So instead of having a really, really good series of moves, now I've got a mate who was a black belt in about 3 or 4 martial arts, including karate, and he actually said that Way of the Exploding Fist, when you play with the keys, is actually quite an authentic martial arts game, which is incredible when you think of It's on a Commodore 64. So yeah, they just completely diluted it. It just, everything about it I was disappointed with. So yeah, there's been a few other games. I'm trying to think. Yeah, there have definitely been a few other games that just never really did it for me. So right, Milfy has got a second question, and I'm going to put it here. I'll put it here actually. How do you think a classic, unique programmer might change a game if he had come up with an idea instead of someone else? Let's get around this corner, there we go. What would happen if, say, Jeff Minter had made Doom, for example? How do you think he would have changed it? P.S. Zombie llamas. Think about it, bloody terrifying. Yeah, I mean, Jeff Minter kind of does do that. He, I mean, I love Jeff to bits. You know, I think what he does is great. The last game he put out, not the last game, well, the last game he put out was based on iRobot, which I've not bought. I've not really got any interest in playing. The game before that, I carry something, whatever it was, I thought was pretty shite. If I'm being honest, it was based on the concept of a game that never actually got released. But yeah, Jeff has for years he has taken existing game templates and just done his own thing, tweaked it up. I mean, when you think about like, what do you call it, Tempest, how many Tempest clones has he made? And that's, you know, some people say, well, that's not good that he does that, but in a lot of cases he does make them better. But yeah, I mean, I could just imagine. It'd be interesting to see a Doom pack that had been done by Jeff Minter. As you say, there'd been various other animals in it, but would it make it a better game? Probably not. I mean, just because you change the graphics in something doesn't really make it any better. But yeah, I mean, it's every programmer's got his own strengths. Jeff Minter's always been good at doing fast-paced, kind of arcadey, kind of type shmups, and so anything that he does do like that, he always makes it great. But it's interesting that he's never really given that a go. But I don't think that's what Jeff does. I mean, Jeff's games are always games that you can imagine playing in an arcade. You're never going to play Doom in an arcade, but anything he's done, you can imagine putting it in an arcade cabinet and playing it. I mean, he's done his light synthesizers, I suppose, but yeah, he never really does. I mean, Jeff, I would love to see him give like a racing game a go, but it's unlikely that he's ever going to do that, because Jeff Minter makes games that he wants to make. But yeah, I'm quite sure there's probably been some really, really shitty games over the years that if somebody else had done it, I mean, when you think of some of the arcade conversions that have been done over the years, I mean, take for example Lotus Turbo Challenge. You know, my mate Sean Southern, Andrew Morris, the people up till they brought out their racing games, people didn't realise that the Amiga was capable of doing a really good racing game. I mean, we had stuff like Crazy Cars, and obviously the Outrun that came out in it was completely shit. I mean, I was talking earlier on about somebody has just brought out an arcade perfect Outrun. So yeah, when you know, people it would have been fantastic to have given the license to Sean Southern, says, right, there you go lads, knock out an Outrun. You know, can you imagine how good that would have been? Yeah, anyway folks, listen, I'm kind of warbling now, so I'm going to get going. Apologies about this not coming out last night. It was meant to come out last night, but obviously a bit of a technical hiccup. So I'm going to get going. I should be back tomorrow night, Sunday night, for yeah, another what do you call it, live stream of some sort. So I'm going to get going folks. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I will hopefully see you guys on the next video. Till next time folks, as always, thank you very much for watching.